Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. So today's video is about how to tackle anxiety and depression. So this video is in two parts. We've got practically, which is this video, part one, and emotionally, part two. Because I think I've seen a lot of articles in the news and spoken to a lot of people, and I think this lockdown especially is affecting people more than we'd like to admit. And so as someone who has suffered for years with quite serious anxiety and depression, I thought I'd share my top tips for you on how to manage them both. I have 8 tips, which I'm going to share with you now. Number 1, put everything on paper. This sounds like a really, really simple thing to do, but you wouldn't be surprised at how much it relieves your brain having things on paper. If you write things down, it takes everything from out of here and onto here. All right, so there's a number of ways that you can do this. You could keep to-do lists, which are really good, and I think it's really important in being positive, in the way that you handle things, and that will help in terms of lifting your mood. So perhaps when you do your to-do list, when you cross off something, you congratulate yourself, you reward yourself, you do something positive so that it becomes a positive thing, so you feel good about it. Even if it's the smallest thing, like washing your hair, finishing that presentation, taking the dog for a walk, who knows? But congratulate yourself on getting something done. Because in uncertain times, or even in times when you're not feeling yourself, even just doing the smallest thing is still a big deal. So make sure you're positive about it. There's also a system called the traffic light system, which I was taught to manage anxiety. And it's really great. It's what I call the blur list. So what you do is you get a pen and paper and you write down everything that is in your head. I mean, every single thing, until you cannot physically think of anything else. So this could be, for example, buy a loaf of bread, or this person said this about me the other day, or why is the sky blue, or oh, I need to do my eyebrows, or all these different things which you could do. Put it all down on paper, everything you have in your head, and then you get 3 different markers, one red, one orange, one green. You highlight in red the things that you absolutely must do right at this moment in time. They need to be done in the next day or two. Highlight in orange everything that needs doing, maybe over the next couple of weeks. Everything else can go in green and can pretty much just be thrown in the bin. It's one of the best tricks for me in managing my thoughts and getting everything out of here onto here to free up your headspace. Number 2, create good social media habits. Now, this is easier said than done. For me, making the choice to follow people on social media who were better for my mental health made a huge difference. So I deliberately don't follow people on social media who aren't my body type, because I was constantly finding, I was thinking, oh, that person looks like this, and they wear that item of clothing, and they look really good at this, and blah, blah, blah. And actually, it was making me miserable because all of it was unattainable. And it was just, it's not real for me. So I make a choice to only follow people with my body type, or if they're not my body type, they need to be preaching things for me about the environment and positivity, or maybe they're mental health advocates, or whatever the case. Choosing to follow people who benefit you rather than make you feel bad. Similarly, if you follow a lot of very exotic travel pages, that's not necessarily helpful at a time when you may not be able to necessarily afford travel, or when you can't physically travel because of this lockdown. So making those positive choices to, create good social media habits is really important. And I think also halving the amount of time you spend online is really important, because, we often forget that we are in a real world of being. We spend so much time reading and reading and reading and reading and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling that we actually forget that we're present in a space. So the less time you can spend on the internet, I personally think is much better for one's mental health. Number 3, improve your quality of diet. Now, this is easier said than done as a personal trainer, because obviously I have had the benefit of learning about lots of nutrition and all that kind of stuff, but the information is out there, and the better choices of food and quality of food you make, the better your mental health will be, because you'll be feeding your body and mind what it needs. Included in this is drink minimum of 2 litres of water per day. Everything in the body pretty much needs water to function. So if you're not getting enough water, that impacts your digestive system, it impacts your brain function, it impacts your eyesight, and everything like that is negatively impacted if you're not drinking enough water. So that's a really, really important one. For me, as someone who's struggled with very serious anxiety and depression, I find the more sugar I eat, the worse my mental health is. And including actually if I have a very high carbohydrate diet, that negatively impacts on my mental health, because I get very steep ups and downs of blood sugar highs and lows. It's not necessarily the same for everyone, but that's just my personal experience. And although I'm not going to say stop eating sugar, because everything in moderation, it's just being aware of how different foods and different scenarios impacts you and what works and doesn't work for you. Number 4, getting a proper night's sleep. Now, this one again is easier said than done, especially if you're stressed or you suffer from insomnia. I'm actually going to do a separate video about sleep, because I've struggled with it a lot in the past, and I know I have a lot of information I can offer. But trying to get a proper sleep, so having a regular bedtime and a regular wake up time, is really important for your body clock, so it can regulate things like hormones and everything else. And if you have trouble getting to sleep, I always say no electronic screens within 2 hours before bed, and no eating within 2 hours before bed, because blue light encourages your brain to release cortisol, which is the chemical we use to wake up. So if you're on, computers or tablets or phones or TVs or whatever just before bed, that can get your brain going and means that will impact your sleep. Similarly with eating, you don't really want your body to be fully digesting a big meal just before sleep, because that requires a lot of energy. So again, that can impact sleep as well. Number 5, exercise regularly. I know this is a really big one for a lot of you guys, particularly if you're not regular gym goers, but I cannot emphasize enough the benefit of exercise. Obviously as a PT, I'm very biased, but the statistics and the proof is out there that it helps you. It releases endorphins. It's the most important thing for those of you suffering with mental health. So at least 30 minutes of exercise per day, regardless of what that is. Find an exercise that you enjoy. There's no point in you slaving away doing loads of, bicep curls if you bloody hate them. Similarly, there's absolutely no point in you going for a, 10K run if you hate running. Find an exercise that works for you. There's so much information out there. There are so many fabulous trainers and teachers, and especially now in this culture of online training, there's so much out there. Find what you enjoy and make the most of it. It will make you feel better, I promise. Number 6, allocate time to just be. A lot of people claim they don't have time for this. I don't really think that's an excuse, because you can just be in 5 or 10 minutes. It depends whether it's a priority for you. And if you're someone that struggles with mental health, just being is really, really, really important. And when I say just be, that means being in a space, whether you're sitting down or lying down, I prefer to lie down, with no distractions. So no music, no phones, no conversations, no TV, nothing on in the background, just you in a quiet space and calm. So what I'll do is I'll often go and lie down on a mat or whatever, and I'll put a timer on for 10 minutes and I just be, because then it allows your brain to process everything that's been going on. And it's one of the most important tools I think we have, using just being. It's surprisingly difficult, but so worth it. Make the most of it. It will make you feel better. Number 7, bullet journaling. So this was introduced to me quite recently, and it was something that I tend to do naturally anyway, but my very good friend recommended it as a way of, you know, just keeping track of your day-to-day. And how it works is you write your schedule for the day. I can give you a little example. So you write your schedule for the day, and you then have a to-do list underneath, and then I'm trying to find one that's not too messy. So it works a little like this. You have your schedule for the day, so you can, for me, wake up 8 o'clock and ring the doctors, 9 o'clock online work, 11 o'clock doctor call, 12:30 workout, 1:30 shower and lunch, and then I just keep track of everything I'm doing in the day. I then also have a to-do list underneath, and I have 2 different colours, one for things I managed to get done, so I highlight it in green if I've done it, and I highlight it in yellow if it gets carried over to the next day. Then if things are repeated that you keep carrying over for days and days and days, after a certain amount of days you really need to question, are you actually going to get it done, because you keep carrying it over and haven't actually done it. So realistically, will you actually do it? The bullet journaling also includes a section on feelings, and this is very important because it's really good for tracking any regular negative thought processes. So I noticed for the first 2 weeks of lockdown, I was just constantly annoyed. I was like, well, why am I annoyed? And then I was able to realize the reasons I may be annoyed and the reasons I may be feeling negative. And actually it was really helpful and useful to see the progress from me then being annoyed and making changes, positive changes. And I highlight the things in yellow that are positive, and then I'm able to then progress and move on and be like, well, it was okay to constantly be annoyed because it's a big change happening. I then get into a routine, and I'm then able to see the positive and make positive changes. And that was really helpful for me. Number 8, create a routine. Now, this again is easier said than done, particularly if you're the type of person like me who's very driven by emotion and how you're feeling. But even just a very vague routine, so getting up at the same time, having lunch at the same time, going to bed at the same time, even if it's something as flexible and sort of, bare as that, that's better than nothing. And it at least gives your body the chance to get into a rhythm, because then you'll start to feel better. It will improve your sleep, it will improve your mental health, it will improve your physical health, it will improve everything generally if you can just have some kind of structure, because structure allows you to then just be. You don't have to worry about things so much. You know that your structure's in place and there's at least some kind of regularity in times of uncertainty. So anyway, I hope you found this useful. I hope you enjoyed this, and stick around for part 2 of this video, which is emotionally tackling anxiety and depression. Have a fab week, guys. Lots of love.